Welcome in Minnesota to what I'm going to consider the last in-season podcast that me and Coach Wilkie are going to be doing this season. Even though it's technically postseason, it's close enough. It's close enough removed. The weekend games were just played, so I'm still going to count this in-season. Coach, how are you doing?
I'm good, and it kind of makes me sad. Anytime you get to the end of a football season, high school wraps up first, and then we're going to get to the college and the NFL, and then you have this long gap. But I love football so much, and having all the games on and following the games more closely than I've ever followed, because I'm usually coaching and you're only paying attention to your own team. So I couldn't have had more fun this season, watching, all the way from the 9-player all through 6A, and it's been just been a blast. So I'm grateful to do this. And I was telling you before we clicked play here that it's super fun to hear the random people. I mean, the coaches that I know that listen to the show, which super grateful for that. But the random people that I don't know who they are, and I'm walking into US Bank and some guy just taps me on the shoulder and says, "Love the podcast." So
Yeah.
that's what makes it fun, is that people are obviously watching, and the views are great and everything else. So I've enjoyed it, and I'm excited to talk about all the championship games and the new winners that we've got.
Well, as you mentioned, it's kind of depressing because now Minnesota sports fans, or at least high school sports fans, are going to have to focus more on the Vikings now, which I don't know if we really want to do
Oof.
that.
You don't want to get me
But
going on that.
so
You don't
unfortunately,
want to
the
get
high
me
school
going on that.
season's ending, so we got to shift our attention elsewhere. But we're still going to be coming out with content in the off
Mm-hmm.
season. I got a couple podcasts lined up with some guests that we're going to do kind of like our drafting. I don't know. I haven't come up with the official name for it, but it's basically drafting our 2025 high school dream team. Oliver
Sure.
West is going to come on. He's kind of a scout for Minnesota and kind of Midwest. So that'll be something fun. And then
Mm-hmm.
we'll have a Coach Lance edition of the podcast. I want to compare 6A teams to their NFL equivalent. I think that's going to be a fun one that we're going to do.
Do you know the other one that
But
I didn't talk about before we got on the air is we should probably think about maybe doing something with the All-Star game.
yeah. Well,
You know,
hopefully, I haven't sent the email to requesting to be there, but they let me in last year. So hopefully, I'll be able to at least be there for the All-Star game and record some highlights. But
well,
yeah, that's definitely something.
well, let
Because
me know.
hey,
I've got
I guess
connections for that one, so we haven't talked about it. So
the season isn't over until the All-Star game happens, I guess. So hey,
well,
in-season
well,
podcast, so it counts. It
yeah,
makes
I
me
know it's
proud.
coming up in a few weeks. I'm
All
excited for it.
right.
I can't
Do
wait
you
to
want to
go.
start off?
Yeah, let's
Let's just go with the same format that we
yep,
usually
let's
have
work
done.
up.
So we'll start
Let's
off
work
with
the big schools
6A,
down.
and we'll work our way down. Let me get it on the screen here. A little rusty. We did some live stream. Shout out to the people that were in the live streams right after
Right,
the games. It was fun hopping
right.
on with Coach Lance and just kind of talking ball. That we had two special guests, so shout out to them for coming on and
Mm-hmm.
sharing their takes. But without further ado, hey, players, coaches, you've heard it once, you'll hear it again. Sign up for that Winter High School League, multiple locations. And I think I looked at the registration deadline is December 17th, 19th. Don't quote me on the exact date, but it's endish of December. So you still have time. Go
Don't
get
wait that
registered.
long.
I'll put, yeah, right. I'm
Go
a
now.
victim of waiting long
Do
and
it now.
acting at deadlines. Yes,
Do
go
it
do it
now.
now. Check the description if you're on YouTube, or if you're watching on Spotify, you can go in the show notes and click the link there to register as well. If you don't have a team, don't worry, you'll be assigned to a team and you'll still get your reps in. But yeah, my 7-on-7, shout out for supporting the show. And hey, you were banging on the Edina drum for like the whole
Mm-hmm.
postseason, so I'm going to give you
Mm-hmm.
credit. I was not, even though I still like this team. What are your initial thoughts on Edina
Well,
winning the championship game?
sometimes you know how I am. I'm a homer, and so when I have people that I know, and Coach Potts is a friend, known him for a long time, and just a solid coach. I actually ran into him at my granddaughter's gymnastics meet. His daughter is in the same competition, so I got to talk to him a little bit and congratulate him in person. But I told you my feeling and my, like, when you're talking about a balance of how do you tip scales, and being in that game previously, and then having that senior lean matters. Those coaches have been in that game. The eyes aren't as big, but the drive is there for that, right? I also felt like they were the team that had overcome a tremendous amount of adversity. And when Coach Potts and I were talking, I brought up the same thing that he brought up to me is those kids never got rattled. You get down 14 points or, they had things happen that weren't in their favor. And then all of a sudden they just go back to business and
Mhm.
really happy. It was such a good football game. Moorhead's a good team. The defense that we were concerned about most of the season showed up
Yeah.
and it was tough. And so you saw Coach Feeney, a lot of people eyebrow raising like these fourth down calls, but I'm like, hey, your team and you feel like, hey, we're not going to stop Edina. We better go for it here because we have a
Mhm.
better score than we do stopping them. So it was a really fun football game. There's no doubt about it. There were some great plays and great players. There's some of the best players in the state of Minnesota on that field, and the 6A game was really marquee. Your
Yeah,
thoughts?
it lived up to the hype. And one of those fourth down plays that you mentioned, I mean, it should have been a touchdown. They dialed up the perfect play against the perfect look and got their best receiver. And I would say the best receiver in Minnesota wide open, but Feeney just short armed it. He hits that
That was
99 out of 100
weird.
times,
I agree with
which
that.
sucks.
He kind of flat-footed it. He looked a little
Mhm.
flat-footed on the throw, and it's a fourth down play, so your mentality is a little different, obviously. And sometimes you're trying to maybe guide that throw in there. But people were saying like, "Oh, 4th and 6, you're going for it on your own end of the field," but that was dialed up, and that's a
Yeah.
play that if he throws that on time in the space, he might score on that play.
Yeah.
So it's not that the play wasn't there. It's not like that Vikings play on fourth down where you literally lost 2 yards on 4th and 1. Like that's embarrassing stuff, right? They actually had the play. So Edina dodged a bullet there, but nonetheless, you got to make plays in those games.
If I see the Vikings line TJ Hawkinson up under center one more time this season,
I hear you. I hear
man.
you. I hear you.
But yeah, I mean, what a game. I really enjoyed it, and I picked Moorhead to win this game, which there he is. He's
Yeah,
been a
the puppy's
podcast
here.
guest before.
Yeah, the
Um,
puppy's still in the house. She's feisty right
I've
now.
picked Moorhead to win that game because their defense convinced me, but I think I was talking with Coach Lance. Their defense changes from um, needing to defend space and spread teams compared to your Lakeville South teams where they really
Right,
pack it in.
right.
And I would usually think if you can defend, the power run team, you're going to be able to defend the run against a spread team. But I mean, ask Chase Biergard
It's
because
different, it's different from the standpoint of the space factor of the perimeter on this, what the safeties have to do, right? Where they're getting in 3-by-1 sets and being able to run inside zone where you're now the box is lighter, and I
yeah,
think that's tougher. And so I think Mason West is just not having him in the Mr. Football mix is frustrating to me.
yeah.
Um, I know, hey, no disrespect to Caleb Francois, nothing at all. He had his career, but I really feel like Mason should have had a higher level of voting in that in terms of what that kid does too, with his feet, with leadership, throwing the ball, all those types of things. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that's the key to winning a state championship is you're not going to see this is not 1995 where you're going to see wing T football teams and power run gap scheme teams every week and they all kind of run the same stuff roughly. You've got to bounce back and forth between power T and spread and right option foot, all those types of things. You just see different schemes and those teams have to adjust, and I think that's where the athletic ability of your team and coaching shows up, and it also exposes the weaknesses in your team as well when you keep getting, as it funnels itself down to the last two teams. I mean, if there's a weakness on the field, it'll get exposed, right?
You're right. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Mason West thing just because even though I didn't pick Moorhead, it's not like I was cheering for them to win.
Sure.
I want to see good football. And the whole story of Mason West, being oh so short to his in his sophomore year to winning state. And then, after
Sure.
last year, his junior season, I was like, man, he's not going to have another chance. And when I said this on the live this weekend, when he talked about winning a state title in both sports on his like hockey, I think it was
Hmm.
his like post draft interview. I kind
Sure.
of discounted it because I just didn't think they really had a shot at it, especially at the start of the season. And then slowly you saw this Hornet team growing and getting better, and you saw that they had a run game as well with Mason West. And I think it's a very fitting way for, even though he wasn't like the star of the game, to kind of just, I mean, there was a ton of social media reaction like nationwide based
Sure.
on Mason West, even though Minnesotans knew that it wasn't really him that won the game for him. But at the same time, he's done so much for that program in the past 3 years that it's fitting that he gets to reap
Well,
the
here's the
rewards.
reality of it. And, we got to talk about Chase Bjorgard too, and we'll get to him. But if Mason West says, you know what, I'm leaving to go get in the NHL, or I'm leaving early so I can get ready for high, or I don't want to risk getting injured, whatever. If Mason West isn't the quarterback on that team, a pretty good chance they're not winning a state championship.
Right.
And,
Yeah, very good
and that's
chance.
a reality. And you think about it, I think the hockey team at Edina has probably already played 3 games without Chase and Mason, who are 2 of their best players, obviously. And I'm sure there's other hockey kids on the team. So I think, having your athletes out there, it's super funny. I've been fortunate enough in my career to coach high-level athletes and a couple professional athletes. And people are always so surprised when they can do other things besides their main sport. I'm like, are you kidding me? The reason they're a professional athlete is because they are elite. They can figure out anything. And so across the board, those kids are just better. And he shows that, and I'm really glad that he did that. I hope, I've seen so many posts over the weekend about multi-sport athletes.
Yeah, I know.
And, that's the one thing I will say. I don't want to discount Mason. I don't want to discount Chase, but I've coached some really high-level athletes, and it is different for them. They are kids when you have a genetic superiority, and I'm not discounting their hard work and everything else, but they're good at everything for a reason, So I think that's good. But I do think kids play everything you can play.
Yeah.
If you can be on the football field, be on the football field, be on the basketball court, the hockey, the wrestling, and the track, and do it all, because it'll be over before you know it. So I think we saw that this weekend.
No, 100% agree. And now let's get to the man of the weekend. Chase Bjorgard is going to take home the Player of the Week award, which we've been meaning to start this season.
Yes.
But we're getting to at the exact right time. So I'll be reaching out to these players and shipping them a shirt that says Minnesota High School Football Network Player of the Week.
Yep.
Courtesy of you. You kind of hooked this thing up. So
it's my Nike rep from when I'm back in my coaching days. Jake Welch came through and helped us out with that. So shout out to Jake, and any coaches that work with Jake know what I'm talking about. He's first class. So I appreciate him helping us with that. As far as Chase goes, he is the game that he had, and watching him play all the games up to that kid is an absolute stud. His mental toughness, in all parts of the game. He catches the ball well too, but his patience in the zone run game is a coach's dream. He presses that zone, waits for the cutback if it's there. Otherwise, he grinds in there. His yards after contact are as good as anybody I've seen in high school football. So it was super fun. Talking to Coach Potts, he was funny because he's like, we're just trying to run the ball and work clock, and he just keeps breaking off and scoring, right? I was like, well, you get the best of both worlds, but I don't think they were just trying to run plays to score at the end. They was trying to eat the clock, and Chase is breaking tackles, and that's how it goes when you wear that defense down out there. The Moorhead was struggling a little bit, but on that side of the ball. But man, Chase is what a great kid, and then just a stud goalie too. So
and a baseball player,
another
too.
2-sport athletes. Yeah, really great.
I don't know how he's just good at every sport he touches. 6 touchdowns, 351 all-purpose yards.
Yeah.
Won his team, needed him the most, and the brightest lights of the season. He comes through, and trust me, that was not his only good game of the season. He has been balling, and it's been fun watching.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This whole season. So
I thought the Mason West stat line was great. 7 for 7, 78 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
His quarterback rating 152. Jet Feeney also had he broke the state record in the championship game. 29 for 39, 373, 2 touchdowns. He did have the 1 interception. But hats off to him, and I'm excited to have him back next year he'll be a fun one to watch. He's going to elevate. David Mack is back. Just some great football players out on that field.
Feeney's going to have a similar championship arc to what Mason West was. Lose it his first time in, and then next year, I don't know. It's Moorhead's been my early pick. So, all right, Chase Biergard.
Definitely
Nice.
Yeah.
And we already talked about this, but I picked Moorhead. You picked Edina. That's 1-0 for you for championship week. So
yes,
props there.
We need the sound effect, the cash register sound effect. It's cha-ching. So.
Spring Lake Park takes home the 5A championship in what was the last game of the weekend, and it was a great one as well.
Oh man, what
were your initial impressions, thoughts?
Honestly, watching that game was so fun. I've personally coached against Spring Lake Park a handful of times in championship settings with sections, not in the state tournament. Coach Stewart is a fantastic football coach. Those kids are so well coached. I want to talk about their defense, but offensively, I keep telling you, like, what's old is new, where you see some offenses at the bigger school level that had kind of disappeared, and people want to go pro sets and spread and everything else. But Spring Lake Park, give them credit, 20 some straight years of running split back veer, inside outside veer, and they do it so well. It was so fun to watch. I think when you have a kid like Nolan Roach, who another junior quarterback, just a fantastic athlete, kid so fast, reads the option so well. That was a fun game to watch. I think, the score ended up 24-21, which I want to get to the others. I want to talk about Chan too, and I want to talk about Ramler, but I think Nolan Roach was he kind of stole the show for me with what he was doing on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, 8 attempts, 2 completions, one of them being a very big one to Conkler on that deep post. Man, that was such a pretty thing, but it's quality over quantity over there when it comes to passing attempts for Spring Lake Park. And hey, it resulted in a 5A state title for the Panthers.
Yeah, I don't think Nolan's not the kid that's going to drop back pocket pass. So when you're running your option well, those safeties need to fill alleys. And as soon as you see them overplaying that's kind of your time to play action past that thing, and then you get wide open passes and
one of the plays. Again, yeah. You've probably, everybody listening to this most likely watched the game, and one of the biggest things in that type of offense is whoever is taking the fake, if they do get the ball, if they don't, they run the same exact way, and that influences those secondary defenders, the safeties, the corners, even the linebackers to even just take a step inside, and then Roach is out and running on the sideline down for a touchdown. Yeah. So it's really fun.
I think sometimes from the quarterback standpoint too, that when you have a quarterback that is a true option quarterback, that first read on the inside or outside veer on that, when you're reading that 3 technique, is much harder than people think, and it happens so quickly. Yeah. And once you get by that one, and you can get off the edge, but it's a lot tougher than people think. And when you get a kid that's really good at it, like he is, boy, they can just wreak havoc. And if you can't control things at the line of scrimmage, your linebackers don't make plays over the top. It's a challenge. So I think from Chanhassen's standpoint, they did a pretty good job. They've got a good crew up front.
Yeah, it's not like they were out of the game by any means or whatever.
No. But I think what got him a few times is just those long chunk runs. Like he had the 53-yarder that was kind of not a backbreaker, but those are really momentum swings for you. So I thought that was, but there were it's just great plays. I'm just looking at the score sheet here. It's a 7-7, 14-7, 14-14, 21-14 when on the pass to Conkler, that 38-yarder you're talking about right before halftime. What ended up being the big play, I thought, was the field goal in the third quarter. That was the only scoring in the third quarter, and Spring Lake Park had driven down there, and it was kind of in that Elk River range, where you're trying to, like, do we go for it here or
Yeah.
do we kick the field goal? And man,
Yep.
that field goal ended up being the thing. So from that standpoint, the young man that knocked that through, man, that ended up being a lot bigger than
Woldy.
yeah,
Wold.
Woldy, yeah. And so yeah, that's huge. And then of course, obviously to wrap it up, the Chan touchdown. But what were your thoughts with Chan at the end of the game? Their 2-minute drill.
Yeah. Me
I
and Coach
was
Lance talked about it being, interesting, I guess. What were your impressions?
I was just disappointed. I just felt like, and no disrespect to their coaching staff, but Ramler's a solid quarterback, and I just, the way I teach progressions, I just felt like they were hanging him out to dry sometimes with longer stem routes that he had to wait on, and we all know that it's more difficult when they know you have to pass, right? They know you have to
Mm-hmm.
throw the ball, but you
Yep.
need to have levels in there, and obviously they didn't have timeouts, but I just felt like he was stuck. Like he was back there and you could tell he was reading his progression. He's like, there's nothing here. So
Yeah.
I felt like maybe the stem calls were too deep and we didn't have crossing routes and we didn't have things to check down to. And
He did have a
I
couple
was a little
throws that
frustrated because
drive that were like kind of on the money, like the Cade Bush one, like near. If
sure.
you're watching on TV, the bottom of our sideline, like that
Yep.
was a very. I mean, would it have been a hell of a catch? Yes, but also was it a pretty great throw in the
Yeah. No, that was
situation? I
right on
think it
the one on
was.
the sideline. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that, when you're looking at Rambler they had thrown the ball 47 times, and
Jacoby
then
Brissett vibes over there.
yeah, right. And then the interception to end the game was frustrating, but they held them mostly in check. I felt like, as far as like the stat line went, but yeah, I felt like Chan is a dynamic offensive team, so really hats off to um, the Spring Lake Park defense, because I do think matching up with teams that are different than your offense that your team runs is a challenge. And so their secondary really had a game. I like Lamari Brown at running back too for Spring Lake Park. I thought
He's a beast.
he's a beast too. He's right in that
Yeah.
Chase Bjorgard type running back where their yards
My
after
last
contact so good.
My last thing on the Chan last drive was, I know the announcer is talking about how you got to get out of bounds, get out of bounds, get out of bounds. But I mean, they had a lot of time to work with. In high school, the clock stops if you have a first
Yep.
down. So
Yep.
again, not being in the huddle, not being on the sidelines, you don't know if that was in their head and being preached. And the play calls were rendering more trying to get out of bounds. But they had a lot of time to work the middle of the field, even like when they got past the 50 to have, what was it? I don't know how much time was on the clock,
They were in
but
the 40s. They were in the 40s.
if they had a first down on the very last play where the interception was, they
Yep.
had enough time to go and spike it and kick the field
I
goal.
agree.
So it
Yep.
wasn't
I
like you
agree.
had to force anything to the sideline, or I don't think
No, and
there's any instance
I
that.
thought that was the benefit on their side, was we don't have to score a touchdown here. They only needed to get to probably the 20. So
Mhm.
they only had 20 yards to go. And to your point, like, you didn't have to get out of bounds. You can throw that in the middle, run up there, kill it, leave yourself a few seconds, kick the field goal, try to tie the game. So they didn't have to throw it in the end zone. Like, when you're down a touchdown, you're trying, they're going to get in cover 4 look and just put 4 guys in a deep linebacker eventually, where you're not going to get in the end zone. There's
Yeah.
defense there. So that was definitely a challenge. But hats off to Spring Lake Park. I'm happy for those guys. Coach Stewart's a fantastic coach, that whole group over there, and really had a great season. We undersold them most of the time because of their strength of schedule, but their defense was really, really solid.
Without a doubt. And it's going to be probably, not doing any research on the 2026 season yet. I know they're returning a lot of guys that were big pieces of this team. So definitely a team to watch out for a possible repeat. Nolan Roach is the player of the week for 5A. He had a hell of a game,
Yeah.
including not only rushing, but he did have that beautiful pass down the middle for a touchdown, which
Yeah,
was a big
really.
thing in this game. Once those heavy run teams, once they take the top off once, it can be the biggest play in the game once they do that.
Without a
And
doubt. Without a doubt.
it
They've picked their
was
spots. You watch any of those teams do that, Elk River, same thing. There's at some point people start to pack the box and then somebody's going to slip by and there you go.
also an underrated thing when you have the limited number of attempts as these guys in the offense do, it is a lot harder to, there's first off more weight, and then you're not even in a rhythm. When Rambler,
Right.
you look at him,
I
he threw a
agree.
ton of passes. So
I agree.
props to that because
I agree.
you feel bad for the quarterbacks that are in this offense, but then you don't because he does the performance that
No, that's
he did.
they know what their main job is. Their
Right.
passes are backwards. Hey, pitch that thing to the running back. So
Shout out Nolan Roach. We'll get
nice
you a
job,
shirt
Nolan.
here. Hey, and we both got this one right, so props to us there. I was really thinking about picking Chant for this one, but decided to err on the side of Spring Lake Park because they have burned me in this season. So I learned from my mistakes. And Panthers fans, there you go.
Yeah.
2-0. All right. This is probably my most surprising state champion game that I saw just because I feel like Orono completely dominated this Casson Manorville team that I thought
Oof.
was legit.
Way
And
more than I thought.
yeah,
Way more than
no,
I
way
thought.
more.
I was very caught off guard. The way Orono jumped out on this game, especially in the first quarter, like it was shell shocking, right? As far as the ball control and the defense and what they were doing to Cass and Manorville. And I think sometimes, when you get these teams that are in their out of their rhythm, they're not Castle Manorville, great football team, no question. Solid football season. But as we know, when you get closer and closer to the end and it funnels itself down and you're playing teams that are as good or better than you can't make mistakes. And getting down when you're a power run team is a catastrophe. So, they are down 21 points at halftime. And hey, credit to them not tossing
Even
in the
they
towel.
made
But
it, yeah,
man,
exactly. They did make it somewhat interesting coming down to pretty much like their last drive when they were going for the tie. But I mean, the first half was literally all Orono.
well,
It
and I
felt
think you
like,
wear yourself out too, right? Like you got to
yeah,
do things that you're not used to doing. And I'll give Casa Manderville's defense credit in the second half of giving them more opportunities. But it's frustrating to me, and it's just one of those things where it's not my style. But you have these teams that don't really have a passing game, so to speak, and in my mind, I know their coaches, they're comfortable with what they do, but in my mind, I'm like, the clock is ticking and we're running
right.
inside veer, like it's midline veer. And I'm like, what are we doing? But they know their team and they can break things. But, I give Orono credit in a lot of different ways in this game. Griffin Maurer is a fantastic athlete.
Hmm.
What he does with his feet and, just enough throwing the ball, but just a
He had
really
a few
fun player to
beautiful throws.
watch.
He
Yeah.
only completed 3 of them, but I remember 2 of his throws being like,
Yeah.
man, that is a
Well,
pretty good
and we're needed. They were
right.
clutch throws, right? So,
Yeah.
but with his feet, he was doing his thing, and I just felt like that was a big difference maker, obviously. And he's been doing that all season, but it was in a huge game like that. That was solid. I think if we've seen anything throughout all of these, the cliche of don't turn the ball over and don't get penalties. Man, the team that turn the ball over at crucial moments, it is, especially in high school football when it's 12-minute quarters. Man, the number of drives that we saw that were 6 and 7 minutes long and sometimes almost 8 minutes long, mind blowing to me. And if you've turned the ball over when you're down on your end, it's like, wow, it's just hard to
Mhm.
recover from that, So, but yeah, just some great players out there, and we kind of undersold again another team that we probably didn't give as much credit to. We just don't have a way to cross them over and compare them as much as you do at the
And when
6A
you
and 5A
do, it
level.
kind of made the thing is when you I don't know, I was thinking about this because this is a good point of I think I rely too much on comparing score, not just scores, but performances. Like I've I've been on the record. I saw this Orno team get
Hmm.
whooped by
Yep,
Byron, and
sure.
for his like I'm learning as I'm going through this, and it's like, okay, I do have to realize not every state champion is going to go through the season and just win undefeated like a Minnesota team, which we'll get
Right.
into. But they're
Right.
going to have losses, and some of them are going to be ugly. But that doesn't mean that they're just eliminated from state title contention. And that was kind of what my thought was when I see a performance that I saw in Byron. I was like, man, I don't see any way this team can win state. But I mean, I feel like they could have beat Byron if it was a different game, obviously, but they didn't even have to play him to get to the bank as well. So that
Yeah.
also goes into it. And then,
Yeah. I just want to. The
yeah,
other thing I
I
guess we
mean,
want to talk about on the Casson Manorville side is Parker Richards, who he was a beast in the game for them too, and kept them in it at the end.
number
He had
7.
20. He carried the ball 22 times, 104 yards, and had a touchdown in there. But just a little short. Came up a little bit short on that last drive, and they'll be back. They've got some underclassmen there. There's enough fuel in that fire to be back in the championship game again next year. So, but
Speaking of
congrats to
yards
Orono.
after contact,
Go ahead.
Richards, 104 yards, but it felt like he just was, especially when the game was like, on the cusp of being out of
Mm-hmm.
hand. I think he really got him back in the game. And running through a lot of people, even though there's only 104 yards to show. I say only, like he
Well,
didn't get
I
over
would
100
say,
yards, but
yeah.
by just the eye test, it felt like more.
Well, I think to your point that running that style of offense, he's rarely going to have non-contact plays to make yards, right? So, and you know what? I think too, the other thing is, let's remember these kids started football August 10th, and they're playing football games in November 20 something. And just the durability of that many carries over that many months and still playing at that level. I'm talking about all the kids, not just Parker Richards there, but pretty impressive stuff. Pretty impressive.
Yeah. I'll just touch on how the game ended before we get to it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Casson going down to score. It's a 4th and short. The coach calls a pass. And a 2-man route there. I think it was, again, it was on the cusp of just a drop back, but the right guard absolutely whiffed and there was pressure immediately. So he rolled out. And, when stuff rolls out, receivers are taught scramble drill, do what you can, get open, short, goes deep. And I think that's probably what happened on that play of having 2 receivers in the same spot, because
Yeah.
there's no way the
Well,
coach would draw two
right.
players in the same
Kids
spot.
just,
But
it's
if it
just
wasn't for
playing
a
500
receiver,
ball
I
at the
mean,
end.
that
Yeah.
could have been a touchdown.
Could have been, at the very least, it would have been, I think, about on the 2 or 3 yard line, 1 yard line,
Yeah.
something like that. So that would have made the end of the game a lot different. But let's go back and figure out how Orono got there in the first place, right? They had to get a 2-point conversion from 25 yards out in the semifinals. So they had a heck of a season too. So that was super fun. And congrats to them. And Casson's got a chance to be back there. Orono has a chance to be back there. So we might see the same 2 teams.
Dave Canwisher is the
I like
Player
that
of the
pick.
Week award.
I like that pick.
Had a touchdown, 16 total tackles registered on the stat sheet, and 1 interception. So kind of a do it all guy, safety. And obviously
I love
played.
that pick. I love that pick. And we forget to, promote these kids, especially at this level, the 4A level and below, that most of the good players never come off the field.
Mhm.
And they're on special teams, they're on, all that kind of stuff. So that's a really good way to look at this as a player of the game. That's a great job by him.
I struggled trying to get a picture of him, but I did. And I'm going to need to rely on Orono player to get his Instagram or somehow get out to him, because I couldn't find his Instagram just on my initial search. But hopefully I find him. Hopefully I can get him a shirt. Shout out.
Congrats
Dave
to him
Canwisher.
and great job. Yeah.
Yeah, we see this. It's not good for me. I've only got 1 right so far out of 3, and I think you're perfect so far.
Man, sometimes I get on a roll. I just feeling it.
All right, Annandale taking home the state title for 3A. It was a good game. It was a weird game.
I was at this game. Yep.
Yeah.
I went to this game. It was a really fun football game. just some good back and forth. And the fun part about being there, because this is the only one I went through live, but being in the building, the energy for this game in the pregame, you could feel that. And Wasika came in there. I don't know if every single game in the Prep Bowl, the opposing team you can feel like we really have a chance to win this game. I'd say out of the 7, I'd say 4 of them, both teams were in there. I think there was 3 of them where teams are questioning. This was definitely a game where Wasika thought they were going to win it, and thought they were going to win it, and you could feel it in the pregame, and I loved that. From the very kickoff of this game, it was physical. Both teams have fantastic offense and defensive linemen, and so the box area was loaded with great plays on both sides of the ball. So I had really a good time. Wasika just struggled offensively in the first half, mostly because Annandale's defense was really sound. They did a really nice job of taking on Duron Russell and making him seem a little bit maybe less of a player than he really is. So hats off to Annandale's defense on that. But Annandale was up 10-rock at halftime, and just kind of kept it on cruise control and not allowing big plays, which I thought was, in any game, but especially a championship game, you got to avoid those momentum swings. So, but it was fun. I thought the only points in the first half or in the second quarter, that first one was it's like a boxing match, where they're both kind of toe to toe and punting the ball back and forth, and all
Field
that.
position game.
Yeah, it was a field position game. And then start the third quarter, and Wasika gets on the board with a really nice drive. And I was thinking, because they looked really flat as we ended the half, and I'm like, man, this could get away from them. And because they didn't have a lot going their way, and they put a really nice drive together after a nice kickoff return and punched it in. And then Annandale comes back on their next drive and hits a 62-yard pass and to Westman, and it was just that was a backbreaker off the turnover. It was a trick play off the turnover, and you got to have those in your pocket when you need them, and it was well timed by the coaching staff, and so that was a backbreaker for them to go up 17-7.
Yes, I agree. It felt like Wasika had just one good offensive possession, and that was the one after half when they scored, and they kind of got in a rhythm, got the run game going. But Annandale's defense, I think, is the biggest winner if this game. If we're,
no doubt,
saying who won this game for Annandale, I would just give it to the defense in general for just being so stout for pretty much all of the game except that one drive.
Do you want to shout out to Alex Becker, the defensive line coach for Annandale?
Yeah,
he's a former captain for me. Was a captain for me. I don't know. I'm going to say 20 years ago. He probably doesn't want me to say, but yeah. But no, his guys up front did a really nice job with Wasika and kept them in check. They do have a really solid offense, and like I said, if you don't have a defense, like, not to pick on Moorhead so much, but you can have a really powerful offense, but if you don't have a way to get the other team off the field, trying to outscore teams is not going to win you a championship. And Annandale was definitely able to do that, and just a really fun game. It was intense. There were some huge hits out there. There was an ejection on a defenseless receiver by Wasika. It was a momentum change, but yeah, it was a mess. It was a little mess at the end of that game, just because of the intensity of where they were and the score of the game. But hats off to Annandale, first state championship. We talked to them earlier in the year, and Coach was kind enough to be on with us. But they lived up to their number one ranking, where we had them most of the season, and I think sometimes when you have a target on your back, it's sometimes tougher when people really say, hey, you're supposed to win the state championship. Sometimes that's tougher. And but they lived up to that. They got a really solid team, and they were fun to watch.
No, most definitely. There was one note during the game. Klinger, the sophomore Wasika quarterback, he didn't have the greatest game, but I still saw stuff that was like, there was a few passes where it's just a little bit away, and the announcer was kind of not dicing him up, but it was kind of. I was a little surprised the announcer was going at him, and
Hey,
he's
yeah,
talking about patting the
he's a
ball,
fan.
patting the
Yeah,
ball.
no,
What is your
I didn't hear
what is
that,
your
but
take on
no,
patting the
my only
ball
thing,
to the quarterback in
I
the group?
don't, well, you've played quarterback for me. I'm a rhythm guy. I guess I don't pay attention to that because, the way we teach it is different. It's, we throw rhythm and read routes, but
Right.
sometimes when you're waiting for a route to get open, I guess, but I don't like it when non-quarterback training people try to give tips and advice, but whatever. I will say for a sophomore, that kid is a fantastic. He throws a rope out there. He's got
No,
good
he does.
velocity on the ball. He's accurate. He runs the ball well. He's going to be considered one of the top quarterbacks, not just at the 3A level, but in the state of Minnesota. He's bigger than people think as well. And I would say for a 15 or 16-year-old kid playing the state championship game, he did all right. So they're definitely going to be back in the mix next year. There's no doubt.
Yeah, definitely a player in the next 2 years that I want to get to one of his games. So, yeah, let's get to the Minnesota High School Football Network Player of the Week award, and that's Colton Purcell. He had the trick play
Great
passing
choice.
touchdown,
Great
and
choice.
he also had 3 interceptions, which is kind of what this game was about in a way. You know, Klinger threw 4 picks, so he accounted for 75 of his interceptions. So kind of
I don't
roaming the
want to
backfield
reduce the
there.
picks, but yeah, again when you
One was
back
at
a
the end
team
of
into a
half,
corner,
right?
when you back a team into a corner, sometimes that makes it a little bit easier for the defense, but nonetheless, you have to make plays. So, hats off to Colton. That was he played it well on both sides. Another kid that doesn't come off the field very much. So,
Yeah,
well played, well deserved.
no, definitely. And I found his Instagram, so I'll be reaching out to him here shortly.
Very cool.
And getting a man a
Very
shirt.
cool.
So congratulations. We both picked Annandale for this. So that is the second game so far where we've picked both on one side, and we are both correct. But all that being said, you're still in the lead.
I will say this,
5-0.
though. I'm going to go back, if you want to go back about 6 weeks, well, probably week 3 of the season. I called this as the state championship game.
Okay.
Week 3 of our show.
Okay.
I had watched Wasika, and after Holy Family had played Annandale, and I'm like, that's the same team. They look very similar. So both have really solid offense and defensive lines and skill players. So anyway,
I'd like to go back and see some of our calls and see how some of them were right, and then somehow some of them were wrong. Because there were a lot of wrong ones, especially from me. But hey, that's what our job is.
That happens.
Class 2A state championship, the one that we all expected. So we said we'll talk about Jackson County Central later, basically the whole season. And now here's their chance. What did you see?
I didn't see all of this game. I had stuff going on, but I did go back and check the highlights. And Roman Voss is Roman Voss. He did his stuff, but I will say, good Hugh, almost great Hugh.
Almost.
I tell you what, those kids did not back down. I think when you have a star player like that on the other side of the ball, those kids did not back down, and they played the defensive side of the ball tough. And Roman Voss can do a lot of different things with the football in his hands. He throws the ball decent. They run a lot of power stuff with him. But I give Goodhue a lot of credit. I thought they did some really nice things defensively to make it tougher and keep themselves in the game. Like I said, if you don't have a defense, you're not going to be around. And they did enough to give themselves opportunities when they had the football down the stretch. And I just thought, they stick that thing in the end zone, with 8:57 left in the game to make it 15-12. And you're like, all right, this is we got something going on here. So it forced Jackson County Central to do something they had to do all year, which is come from behind to win a football game.
Yeah. I thought the statement, I guess, is Jackson County is as good as advertised. Like, I don't know a team that turns the ball over 6 times and wins the game. Like that shows you how good that that they are. And I get it. All props to Goodhue, because whatever the FanDuel spread was for this, they definitely covered,
Mm-hmm.
and
No
made it
doubt.
made it a really interesting game. Because if I had to pick, this was going to be the game where it's like, okay, I can kind of half watch this one, because I think it's going to be a bit of a
I
blowout. But it was
I was the same.
it
I was
was
the same
not
thing.
that.
That's why I wasn't paying as much attention, because I thought this thing was not going to be close, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden I had to come back and try to catch up to it. But yeah, Goodhue, all the credit. Well, hey, and also Goodhue's a team that I didn't even know if they should have gotten out of their section.
Mm-hmm.
They
Right.
played Watertown
No,
Elysian,
yeah, we talked about that.
that
We
was the
saw it.
2-point conversion in overtime. So
Yeah.
teams got to dodge some bullets along the way to make it happen. So good for them. Who was your player of the game?
Player of the game, guess. I was gonna try to make it interesting and try to see if I could pick somebody, but I was like, it doesn't feel right. It does not feel right
No.
doing it.
No, especially with the stat line that he had. That's hard
No.
to pass up on.
Without a doubt. I felt like, I mean, we Minnesota saw how special this guy was, and it's good to see him go out, not only with his team winning, but him actually, winning the game for his team. And I think it makes for a better story that it wasn't a blowout, that they did have to battle to get this one,
No
because
doubt.
nobody wants to see a state championship that's a blowout. And
No.
we'll get to one of those, but
Yes, we are about to get to
they
that.
they do happen, and they are going to happen. There's more that are going to happen, but again, more props to Goodhue for it's with this stat line. It's kind of crazy that the game was that close, and it's
Yeah,
kind of the
I agree.
turnovers and
I agree.
Roshan being as special as he was, because that dude was running for his life. Jackson County was putting pressure on him all day. He had one of the most unique high school football plays it was I don't know if you saw this. It was a flea flicker, I think, in the first half. So the running back gets it, pitches it back to him. He's got to bail out, so he's running right. And when I say like Derek Jeter throw, you think of him just like hopping in the air, going right, throwing to first base. It was exactly that. And it was a 45-yard just dot that when the ball's in there, you're like, oh God,
Sure.
what defender is this going to go to? And it lands
Right.
right in his receiver's hands. And you're like, wow, don't do that again. But hell of a talent there. And he's definitely one of the more fun quarterbacks to watch in the state.
Yeah, without a doubt.
All right. Hey, another. So, hey, when you and me have picked the same team, we haven't been wrong. So maybe we should team up instead of going
I'll tell you
against
what,
each other.
though, you could have made a lot of money at FanDuel if you
Oh,
put your
man.
Coles cash on Goodhue, and they definitely covered the line, right? So,
Yes, most
nonetheless,
definitely.
that was good. Good football game, though. The next two games on the list, not so fun, but
not so fun. Yeah, that's one way to put it.
hats off to Minnesota. Coach Johnson's
46
I
wins
talked
and
to him
counting,
earlier
I
in the
think
year.
it is.
46 and another 6 state championships for him.
Yeah.
They started off. Thank you. They started off with a turnover and give up a touchdown right away, and you're like, hey, Breckenridge,
the
right?
game started odd. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And then all of a sudden it was like, whoa! Minnesota just flexed on them and just made it not a game, which was kind of disappointing. I really loved Breckenridge all season. The Kappas kid is fantastic. Erlinson at running back, he was in the All-Star game. I'm excited to see him run in person. But Minnesota is they are loaded. To see them, live and see how big they are up front and how skilled they are is pretty unique at that level, to have the depth that they have. You can see why they do what they do and why they win state championships. Very well coached. The Sussner kid is Tristen. He's a junior, and the kid's never seen a loss.
We'll
He's
talk
never
about
lost a
next
football
slide.
game. Like
Yeah.
So he's a fantastic player. And they came out, ran that trick play after the turnover on.
He
Oh
beat me
my
to
goodness!
it. I was gonna say
that was
the
fun
first
and
completed trick play of the Prep Bowl weekend. There.
yep, no doubt.
Was it a reverse?
Mm-hmm.
almost kind of like a reverse
Yeah,
flea flicker because it went
reverse flea
back to.
flicker. Yeah.
So,
They
yeah.
ran like jet, tossed it back, tossed it to the quarterback, and the kid's just running down the field by himself. So, but
Oh
yeah, those are
man.
the ones that you have in your back pocket because I'm guessing they don't get to use that stuff most of the season because they're up by so much. But
Yeah.
now you got one in the game, you got a game, and you can off a turnover. We saw a few of those. It's the cliche to run the trick play after a turnover.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I feel like defenses are usually more ready for it, but not.
They were not this weekend.
Three times last weekend. We saw like, oh, the cliche trick play, and there we go. So,
Right.
But yeah, hats off again to Coach Johnson and the Minnesota Vikings. Just another great season. The Sussner kid at quarterback is all that he's built up. He's a good leader on the field, even as a junior. I think that kid. It's fun. It'd be fun to see him back again, and they'll be the team to beat in 26 for sure.
Yeah, Tristen Sussner, Player of the Week award for a great performance, but it was a great team performance as well. And I think that speaks to how well Minnesota's built and run and developed. That I mean, you have to develop kids at some point. I know there's a talent thing that happens, but in order to win 46 games straight, coaches have to develop players as well. And
I think too, you can always start with that offensive line. Like their offensive line is the size of most of the 3 and 4A schools, honestly.
Yeah.
And so, that matters and being able to control that line of scrimmage. But yeah, those coaches, they work hard with those kids and your off-season program and everything else. And I think when you have success like that, it becomes an expectation in that community, right? And they've done that, and I think it's it definitely shows. There's no question about it. And maybe we'll be talking about them again a year from now in the same situation, and they'll be on 58 consecutive wins and 7 state championships.
There's not many teams where you can say that's the likely scenario, but this is the one team that you say it's likely because of their past.
No doubt.
Last thing before we move on, we texted about it. The jerseys on Minnesota. I'm not going to call them a problem, but I'm going to call them something that I think they should fix.
Okay. What don't you like about them?
Well,
we talked about it. They're too baggy.
How big the offensive linemen are. And
they're very
old linemen don't even fit into their jerseys because they're baggy on the big dudes. I tweeted about it.
I know.
And I got some likes. I can start I don't know. The best program in Minnesota I would think has to have.
You want a little more style on those jerseys. I appreciate it. They need to be a little more custom fit.
I mean, I like the gradient shoulders. It's not the colors. It's not the design. It's just the fit.
Yeah,
it's the fit.
They're one size too big. I got you. That's funny.
But that's
congrats to those guys.
Thing.
Congrats. Coach Johnson is a very humble man for how successful his program has been. He's got a good group up there, and wish them well and congrats.
Sussner, congratulations.
Yes.
Oh, whoa! Did I skip this? Haha. Yes. Ooh. The one pick that I beat you in.
I went sentimental. I've got a little connection to Breckenridge, and that would have been fun. They scored first, and I'm like, hey, we wanted to see if Minnesota how they would react when they were behind. They did not. They did not panic at all. They ripped off 3 straight touchdowns. So, good for them. That was fantastic.
I was going to pick Breckenridge if you chose Minnesota, but I'll take the win there as I totally.
You deserve to get a win.
Yeah,
you deserve to get a win.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, HBC Hills Beaver Creek.
I wish we could finish better, but you know what? They're just like Minnesota, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this thing got away
from the live stream. Got to watch them.
Yeah, this one got away fast. I'll be honest with you. I can't give you a ton of insight on this game because I just know that the Metzger kids were phenomenal, dominated. I went through and clicked through the highlights and saw the stat line. They had the picture and the trophy by halftime, so it was a rip. Hillcrest Lutheran had a good season, solid football team, but Hills Beaver Creek they are head and shoulders above any team at that level by far.
Yeah, it was the Patriots show pretty much the whole season. They didn't really have a close game, and it was kind of just I would I would say like the Jackson County Central of 9-player, at least in my perspective. When there was, the Kitson County, there was the
Oh, without a
Stephen
doubt.
Argyle. There was a few teams, but they got to a certain
Mm-hmm.
point, and especially when I saw them in person, I was like, "Hey, this team is gonna win state, and there's not gonna be really much anybody can do about it." They just have too many
Right.
weapons.
Right.
All the
Hey,
Metzgers,
maybe
not
we'll do a
even
live show from
players,
there. Maybe we'll go down
right?
and do a
Hey,
live show, right?
no, that would be fun. It would be my second time in Hills Beaver Creek, so,
Yeah,
that'd be a blast,
that'd be
but,
fun. That would be fun.
uh, they just have so many playmakers on this team, and it's just really hard to overcome a team, that talented,
Yeah,
especially
no doubt.
at this level, so, credit to Hillcrest, they didn't give up. They could easily
No,
mailed
no.
it in. Swedberg had a few passes, I think it was in the before halftime and coming out of half that were we've talked about Swedberg on the podcast. He's a really
Yeah,
good
no,
quarterback that we
he's
like.
a solid quarterback. It's
Um,
just when Hills Beaver Creek's defense is solid, and then also you're pinned down where you're forced to really just throw the ball if you have a chance.
yeah,
The way the clock works against you. So, but hey, great season for them. There's only one team that's going to obviously finish with a win and getting to a state championship game. I've been on that side of it too. It hurts on the day, but when you have a couple days to reflect, like you look back and getting in that final game is still a huge deal. So, but
yeah,
congrats
no,
to Hills Beaver
great
Creek for
run,
sure.
great
Mm-hmm.
run there. But it's hard because this dude's only a sophomore. Brodie
Right.
Metzger, receiver, linebacker. I could have given it to Jamin Metzger, their quarterback, and I was really thinking about he's a senior. He's not going to be able to be there, but at the
I
same
got it.
time, you can never take for granted that you get to the Prep Bowl. So why I wouldn't have picked him is he was a sophomore, and who knows what's going to happen over the next 2 years if they'll get back to the
Well, and I feel
state.
like too, you got a kid like that that's playing on both sides of the ball and being an impact player on both sides of the
Right.
ball. That stat line that's
Impact, all
worthy. That's
caps.
worthy, no doubt.
Right.
That is for sure. Yep, no doubt.
325 total yards, 3 touchdowns, 11
Yep,
tackles,
yeah. That's
1 in.
11
So
tackles.
that's
That's awesome.
that's
Well done.
it's everywhere,
Well done.
offensively, defensively. So shout out to Brodie Metzger. I'll be reaching out to him. And hey, they gave me a shirt, their program, so I'm gonna return the favor.
Yeah, you
Send
got
one
that shirt
back.
on. You
I'll
didn't
be
wear it
okay.
tonight. I got my Minnesota shirt
Hey,
on. I'm gonna have to
I
get a new one from
I
Coach
felt like
Johnston.
I felt like I had to not wear it because it's like, does this guy just wear the same shirt
I
for
do.
5 weeks in a row?
I do. They got to lose before I take this off. Probably.
Well,
Kidding.
you're wearing that for a
We'll mix
while.
it up. We'll mix it up.
Hopefully, next year there's going to be so many programs that are going to be featured with shirts and apparel that
Mm-hmm. Yep.
we just
We'll make
can't
it
even
fun.
keep up.
We'll make
Yeah,
it fun.
we'll be
We're gonna make it
changing
bigger. We
multiple
appreciate everybody
changes
that's
in the
watched.
same
Yeah,
time.
everybody that's watched this year and shared it out, and we appreciate it. It's fun to do. It gives the amount of homework I have to prep for this show is way more than I ever thought it was going to be. But it's really fun, and it's fun to get to know a lot of the coaches that I didn't have contact with. When you are coaching, you kind of get stuck in your own world at that level. So it's
Right.
been fun to see all of them, and so many great players and coaches at all the levels. And we appreciate all the people that we were talking about this before. I'm going into games or prep bowl different places, and just random people tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, we love the show." So it's fun to do, and I'm glad we get a great audience. So we'll keep it going, and hopefully we'll have something new for them next year too. We'll see.
Yeah,
We can
without a
make this
doubt.
thing
Things
even
are
bigger.
working behind the scenes. We're doing our due diligence. We're doing everything to grow this thing as much as we can. So hey, with that being said, you've thanked them, but
Mm-hmm.
go share. It's the last one. Share to your community, share to your fellow coaches, your fellow players. And hey, make sure to, if you're a part of it, make sure the player that I picked watches the podcast so they can be looking out for
Yeah.
a DM. So they can get their shirt that they
Yeah.
earned over the
Yeah.
weekend, of course.
Yeah. It's a nice Nike dry fit, man. We didn't
Yeah.
go Gildan on this thing.
Uh,
What Nike? Come on. You're gonna want to
oh
wear this.
gosh.
Show it
Yeah, so
off.
like, share, comment down below. I try to respond to most of you guys that comment down below. So definitely, and be looking out for more future podcasts, whether it's in the off season or just stay connected to the social media, because it's the off season, but there's still stuff to talk about. I can tell you that much.
We're not that far away. It'll be here before you know it.
Well, thank you, Coach, for
Fun times,
joining me
man.
this whole season. So
I appreciate it. I couldn't have had more fun this year doing it. This is I love football, and it's a great way to and analyze it and be involved with it and stay connected to a lot of different coaches. So I appreciate it. We're gonna make it better.
no, we will. So thank you guys for watching.
You bet.
Out.